China's government has placed travel restrictions on more cities a day after locking down Wuhan, the epicentre of the coronavirus outbreak. 25 people are confirmed to have died so far, while hundreds within China and abroad have been infected. Authorities have cancelled large-scale celebrations ahead of Lunar New Year tomorrow.
Wuhan's train stations and airports are largely deserted, some under guard during a government-ordered lockdown. 11 million citizens of this normally bustling city have been told to stay home.
Wuhan citizens shouldn't leave without a specific reason, and airports, railway stations and other ways out are closed.
Not knowing how long the travel ban will last, residents have stocked up on essentials, including food and petrol. Videos posted to social media show hospitals overcrowded with people seeking treatment. China's extraordinary measures to contain the new coronavirus go much further than the recommendations of the World Health Organization. But there are still concerns that the number of cases could explode. People who think they're suffering the usual effects of the flu season may have something much worse.
This is a virus that has emerged under the camouflage of millions of cases of milder respiratory infection, so finding the cases is actually quite difficult.
Around the world, flights from Wuhan have been cancelled. All arrivals from the region are being checked and monitored. In Manila, travellers are noticing the heightened level of alert.
The question is where we came from, and as soon as they learned that we came from America, they let us go through.
In Tokyo, Chinese visitors heading home accepted the risk.
I'm not worried to get back to China. I'm just exhausted. We just, four people, we friends are just tired, and we want to go home.
China has restricted movement in more cities, affecting tens of millions of people, as an unprecedented containment effort gains pace. Jonathan Flynn, ABC News.
Well, let's speak to someone now who's in Wuhan. New York Times reporter Chris Buckley joins us now on the phone. Chris, thanks for taking the time to join us. What's the current situation where you are?
Well, this is Friday morning in Wuhan, and it's very quiet on the street so far. This is the eve of the Lunar New Year celebrations in China, so it's going to be a very subdued celebration in Wuhan this year.
So, Chris, how would you describe residents are feeling? Is there a sense of fear? Are people scared, or is it business as usual?
It's not business as usual. I find that most residents, there's a mixture of frustration, anxiety, and a surprising amount of acceptance that the city will be under a lockdown for at least a few days to come.
With respect to that lockdown, Wuhan, as we know, is a major transport hub. All travel in and out has been blocked. Are there ways around it? Are people trying to get out?
Some people have spoken to me about trying to get out through the back way that can evade some of the police checkpoints. I suspect that the police checkpoints have been tightening up a lot, though, so I'd be surprised if many or any can get out at this point. I should also point out that unless things have changed, it's still possible to enter the city, but it's impossible to leave at this point.
How would you describe the medical response to this outbreak? Has it been adequate? Are the hospitals coping when people turn up with symptoms?
Well, first of all, you have to admire the medical workers in the hospitals here who are dealing with a surge of people coming into the hospitals with coughs and fevers, worried that they might have contracted this coronavirus. And it seems that one of the problems they face is that shortages of some of the basic equipment they need to keep themselves safe. So that's the protective suits, the hazmat suits, gloves and protective visors. It seems that the government is trying to mobilise resources to overcome that problem, but at least of last night it seems that the doctors and other medical workers were under a lot of strain.
How are you and the residents in Wuhan, and I imagine indeed the other cities that are in lockdown, receiving information from the authorities, from the Chinese government?
Well, there's lots of ways in which people are receiving information. Of course, state television, newspapers have had reports about this. But as with a lot of issues in China, a lot of the information is spread through social media, especially WeChat, which is they're sort of a little bit like WhatsApp, in which people can share information and links to news. So that shares news. It also shares some rumours as well. So there's this swirl of speculation about how many people might be infected, how long the lockdown will last, and that creates some anxiety as well.
Is it leading the China state-based news outlets? Is it featuring on the evening news bulletins on the television, or is it featuring in the front pages of the papers?
Well, it's a little bit of a split story. And on the official television stations and newspapers, which is sort of the voice of the Communist Party, it's not a top-tier item. So you'll have to look inside the newspapers for news about this. But on the news website, on which a lot of Chinese people consume their news, it is more prominent. So opening up the website this morning to check the news, it's sort of one of the top 2 or 3 items, and there's quite a lot of links to news available. So it's a mixture there. There is some underplaying in the more official news sources, but there's also a lot going around on the news websites now.
Understandably, Chris, there have been many parallels drawn to the SARS epidemic. Is there scepticism with respect to what the government is telling its people in light of that? Or is there a sense that there's comfort in that the government has learned from that experience?
Well, I think, Catherine, that it's a real mixture of both of those responses. I think it's probably true that most experts would acknowledge that since SARS, the Chinese government has made a much more concerted effort to create systematic reporting of outbreaks of diseases. But there is a lot of ingrained skepticism among Chinese people when they hear these official reports, and that partly reflects the experience of SARS and other medical hazards when the Chinese government has tended to underplay or even cover up the numbers. So it's a real mixture there.
OK, we will leave it there. But Chris Buckley, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.